Hello and welcome to Poga Tram. My name is Alec Michael Wilson, and a couple of days ago I interviewed Kitsch Doom on this very stage. We spoke about their opening night, their exhibition and the works. I hope you enjoy. Hello Kitsch.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being here today on the same stage you were like a week and a half ago. First of all, congratulations on receiving the Agility Award that enabled, I think, part of this exhibition. You've actually, as of today, you've got a film at the close where you being shown in a couple of weeks in Cork.
Yeah, it's actually on the 22nd of September. Yeah,
that's excellent. Some of these here will be featured in this film.
Yes.
Great. Could you, for anyone who's not familiar, how you got here, how you got started, how did this happen?
So that's a big question. But yeah, like I guess I've always wanted to be an artist. I've always known I wanted to be an artist, and for a long time, in school I always drew. I always thought about actually clothing a lot as well. Clothing is a new part of my work. In the last 2 years, it's been a really important part of my work. And I guess how I got here was kind of going back to my roots. You know, as when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, I always made up stories, and I loved to make people laugh, and I loved the whole absurdity of becoming other people and what you could learn from that. So I decided to go back to college. For a long time I didn't do any art at all, and because I was kind of following what other people said, don't do art, you'll never get anywhere, and it's a hobby and all that stuff. It all got to me, and then when I was about probably 21, I started saying, okay, I need to take my art seriously. And yeah, I just decided I need to go back to college and I do this right. And yeah, a few years later now I'm here. I've just finished my master's. And yeah, I have all these characters. I don't know how I got here actually, but it just happened very naturally.
Sure.
Yeah.
And was at 21, it was NCAD you studied, right?
Yeah, I did a portfolio course actually in Sallynoggin, and then I went to Wexford, and then I went into NCAD actually, and I finished my graduate, my bachelor's in 2019 in printmaking, and then I went straight into a master's in media in NCAD as well.
Yeah, because it's something I've seen from the chronology of your films, where Meryl makes an appearance, and it's all 2019, 2020. It seems very it's very fresh, it's very new. So could we talk about some of the characters, if that's okay?
Yeah.
So some of these outfits here are of and are from different characters. Could you talk a little bit about these?
Yeah, of course. I think it's best to talk about Meryl first.
Sure.
She was the first character from the family of characters, and this is her wedding dress. And the story of the wedding dress is actually interesting, I think, because it came from a shop I used to work in. It was actually I was working as a photographer in this really small little dingy studio in Dublin, and it was taking photos of families and newborns and things like that. So it was quite nice actually. And my first job as a photographer as well. And downstairs was this. It was also part of the business, but it was separate, and it was a wedding dress shop.
Okay.
And nobody went inside. So it was an abandoned, it was an abandoned wedding dress shop.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I was oh my God, this is so interesting, because it got me thinking about the symbolism behind weddings and wedding dresses, and also the shop as a whole. It was people are kind of abandoning almost the idea of marriage. I feel, not entirely, but I feel a lot of people are, and just thinking maybe it's not necessary anymore. And so I got the idea of moving on from it, in that feeling of traditions kind of still lingering, this shop, you know? And I guess that's how I got started thinking about Meryl. I was let's talk about a character who represents this feeling.
Sure.
And how roles like marriage and being a bride and being a mother can conceal an identity, and people can feel comfortable in that, or they can feel uncomfortable, but it's up to the person. So I wanted to show that. And then here are her gloves. These gloves are actually everybody's freaked out by them. And these gloves were
I've seen these in your movie, sorry, it's Meryl places them on, and they like extend your arms a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was all very like improvised as well, and an experiment. It wasn't. I didn't plan it to be like that. For them to be like really extension arms, like. But it just happened, and I wanted this. These are actually really nice satin gloves, like bridal gloves, and I wanted to make them into a sculpture and actually make them into skin, to show like, you know, the context of the character as well, how you become this role and you become.
It's kind of rigid as well, like, you know, because the material of it I can see from there compared to the dress, like it's so almost like stiff. Kind of,
yeah.
Like I keep doing that motion, like it's kind of like.
Yes.
I remember from the video.
And to kind of like keep these out, when I was making them into a sculpture with latex over them, I had to stuff them. So I had loads of like stuffing for like, you know, pillows and things, and put it in just to keep them in. But I didn't realize that it became part of it and it all stuck together. So I couldn't put my hands through.
Yeah.
So that's why my hands only come up to here, because I couldn't get them in more.
Did you have to hold on to the material like that, kind of like, oh no, it's...
Yeah, I thought, oh, okay, this isn't what I planned, but let's go with it. And it actually became a big part of the story, and like a part of, you know, her as a character. Very eerie as well. I think that it just worked perfectly then.
I think so.
Yeah.
When you're sort of, I guess, going from, I know it's a print background, into making your films, how does a project like change from the start to the end, like for you? Like, for example, as things happen and you kind of work with it, or?
Yeah, definitely improvisation is a huge part of my work. Like, it's like acting. Like, I do a lot of improvisation and method acting, and I kind of look at everything like that. And when I even made the film with Meryl, I made that film that morning, actually, before we started shooting, because it just came to me. And like, also, you know, the part with the arms and things, we just kind of went with it, and that's why it worked. I want that kind of improvised energy and that natural energy in everything that I do. I think it's a lot of work can be maybe premeditated too much, especially film work. Like, film work has to be planned to a certain degree, but if it has a bit of both, I think that's where it's like some magic happens, you know?
Yeah, and I guess like something I'm picking up there when I was watching the Meryl days, as I was there walking through the streets of, I think it's Vicar Street where it was shot. You know, they're pretty in character and they're pretty comfortable with that. But if you're just having to suddenly be that character, I'm seeing a relationship between ideas of like identity and like, you know, what you're supposed to be, do this, and it may not always feel that natural. Is that kind of like sort of an intentional thing, or?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what the driving force behind all my work is about that. And that's why it's kind of like the characters show, like, they're not really performing the way that you're supposed to. They were a bit odd, and that's why like I decided to bring Meryl into like a natural everyday environment, on Thomas Street and then through Vicar Street as well. And I got a lot of looks.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm performing wrong. It's like, it's all about like the performance of everyday life, that everybody's performing a role, really, and that's not a bad thing, actually. But if somebody performs in a strange way, it is seen as something bad. So it's just showing that, really, like, and showing that feeling, like that inner feeling of what that feels like to be kind of isolated in a way.
Yeah, and it came across, I think, at the beginning of that, and in this exhibition, the presentation centre, on the vertical flat screen. I love that, by the way. It's so separate and so like otherworldly.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah.
I love that as well.
There was one I came for a few visits after your opening night, and there's one scene where Meryl is rolling it's like a veil, but it's not a veil. I think it's like, could you describe that?
Oh, it's a stocking.
Right? Yeah. It's because it looks like it's way too tight.
It's a bridal stocking. It's supposed to be a really like elegant and kind of sexy stocking, and it matches her dress perfectly and freely and things. And I guess I'm subverting the whole thing. Yeah.
That comes across.
She's actually a funny character, even though she comes across very scary. She's supposed to be. She came across way scary than I imagined. And she was supposed to be like, she is a hybrid between a burglar and a bride.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that comes across. There's like this super old thing I watched ages ago where a guy tries to be a burglar and he struggles with it because he's like, I don't want to do it, it's too nice. And, that kind of made me think of it. Like, it's sort of, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, and you should, it obscures the face completely, it presses it in. There's lipstick, and I think midway through that particular video, there's a part where you can see where the lips are up here, and it's so like, then sipping the tequila as well at the end of that. Yeah, it's like, there's a really good quote. It's something about like, I feel so disconnected. I feel so disconnected, but it burns. It's a good burning, like sipping vodka, like or tequila, and it was came off pretty well. Yeah. Taking your characters from screen and now in this solo show at the presentation centre, how was that in terms of curating, displaying the costumes? How was that for you?
Well, actually, I left the curating to Lisa, actually, because I like to focus on the work more than anything. And I feel like the people that are used to the space would understand the space more than I would.
Right.
So I don't usually curate, to be honest. But it was like, I do have an idea of where I'd like things in a way as well, like, and where I want the clothes to be, say, like, sure. And because some pieces belong together almost like a little ecosystem, mm-hmm. and some pieces need their own space, like, the cape here can be on its own. It's like an individual in a way. And like the pictures of the portraits of, like, say, the kids, Junior and Lori, they belong together as well. Mm-hmm. So it's and so do the porn gloves as well. Like all of that kind of works off each other and together. Yeah. So I suppose it was my first time having a solo show as well. Mm-hmm. And I have so much work. It's great to have the solo show because usually I want more space. Like in group shows, it's just not the same. But I found it a really good experience. And this the presentation center as a space is perfect for my work because mm-hmm. it's a perfect blend of like tradition and modern, mm-hmm. Like art. So mm-hmm. I think I couldn't have asked for a better space, really. Yeah,
for sure. Because I think that in a lot of the characters I've seen you perform or depict in print, there is that sort of duality or even a triptych thing going on where it's like notions of celebrity from the 50s, 60s, then hyper modern, like post-internet styles. Like, for example, Glasshouse, the video we were talking about earlier. Like, it's speaking of curation, and that's such a wonderful way to show your work, by the way. So, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there's actually a frame print of it, to the stage left or stage right. Is that something you're currently building? The glass house?
Yeah, so that is under construction.
Right.
And I'm still working on it. I've taken a break from that actually for a while after my master's because I was just like working so much. But that is like an ongoing project, and I'm still working on. I think Lauren's room and Junior's room are kind of finished. Still working on the living area, the kitchen, and then the attic, which is Meryl and Beltman's room. So I'm still working on a few things, but it's like a house, you're still working on these kinds of things, still decorating. We just moved in.
Spring cleaning,
They just moved in. And I'm looking forward to, like, there's so much you can do with 3D environments. I'm hoping to use the same 3D environment for the film, the screenplay that I'm working on, which is hopefully a feature-length kind of experimental film, a cinematic experience, and I want the characters, like live action characters, to be like in this 3D virtual house. So that's kind of where it's going. Yeah,
it's an interesting concept because it viewing it on YouTube through the link and seeing it there. There's almost like there's no human presence, or there's a sort of a sense of an attempt of human presence there, and it's made me think of, I think it's something we talked about before, like post-humanism and elements like that. Could you talk a little bit about like post-humanism, really, for anyone who isn't aware of it?
Yeah, post-humanism is it's like such a big topic, but there's a few things that I take from it, and I really like how everything is important in post-humanism. Like, humans are not the center of the universe. They're not the center of the world. And really, people do think that. We do live in a world that we are the center. We don't think about the plants around us, we don't think about the environment around us, or we don't think about the animals really around us. And really what's important in the world is not like kind of yourself, it is the relationships you have with everything around you.
Right.
And that's really the important part of posthumanism I take for my work and for my kind of everyday life now, and I've learned a lot from it. And there's also like posthumanism is kind of rejecting everything to do with humanist ideals, and humanism is again to do with humans are the center of the universe, but it all comes also from religion, and how like the perfect ideal person is a white male, and anybody who does not fit into this category is discriminated against. And I get this from Rosie Braidotti's book, The Posthuman, and like just all of her work on the self, and that chapter on the self is like a huge inspiration. So that's basically what it's about, and rejecting all of these ideals that cause discrimination. It's like, this isn't working. Do you know, whatever's going on here isn't really working. There's so many issues and social issues and like people not respecting each other that people want to move on from that now and like think of the world and themselves in a different way. And I think it's necessary, actually.
And do you explore that? I guess you can say there's an exploration through your characters who have elements of our heightened or maybe archaic old ideas of celebrity, of like, this is the perfect guy, perfect girl, but there's a juxtaposition, like kind of like a stacking of characters that you play out, and like it seems like a very explorative process, like you're doing there. Can you talk to me a little bit, because I'm fascinated with Loring and the cape and the performance at Emma for your master's show? Yeah. Please talk me through it.
Okay, well, Loring is Beltman and Meryl's daughter. She's 16 years old, and she is a Catholic schoolgirl, but she's also a digital native. So she's a cyborg, actually, which is what also like Donna Haraway talks about, like how we're all cyborgs because we all have, we're like addicted to our phones, basically, can't live without them, and they're kind of an extension of our bodies. So both the kids are cyborgs and the parents are humans.
Right.
And yeah, Loring, everybody loves Loring. I'm so glad because she's such a vibrant character. And so when she's in school, her name's Lorraine, which is her birth name.
Yeah.
Then when she kind of puts on this Lorraine like persona and is this perfect schoolgirl and wants to get all the best grades and like, you know, all that. And then when she goes home, she gets to kind of be herself and explore her identity and explore her sexuality online. So she has this avatar, which is Loring, and that's the non-binary superhero. And she wants to fight the patriarchy online. Great. Yeah, so that's what she's all about. And every garment that has been made is like to suit her character, her personality, her experience. And the cape was designed by me, and it was made by Izzy O'Reilly, who's an amazing seamstress and designer, and I'm very inspired by her work actually for the characters, these new characters. And also she made her shorts, her latex shorts. And then all the leather pieces that were made by Roshan Gartland in collaboration with myself. And it's just been so amazing to actually collaborate with people, like talented people like that. And they've put their own vision into the work as well.
Sure.
And Loring is just a fierce superhero, you know?
Yeah. It's awesome. So next up you have On Culture Night on the 17th. Could you talk to me? We're going to be back here. Could you talk us through a little bit what's going to happen? This will be going out, I think, just beforehand. So what can we expect? What's going to happen?
Oh, on Culture Night. I'm so excited for Culture Night. Like, this has been the event. I'm anticipating so much. And so I guess people can expect to have a really great time. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be something different for, Enniscorthy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, I'm going to be there as Loring, performing as Loring. And there might be a special guest appearance from one of the other characters, but I'm not sure yet.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it a surprise. Then it's going to be hosted by Baroness von Bundier, and who's a powerful performer. And also there's going to be Poppy Disgrace, who is a burlesque dancer and drag artist. And then there's going to be also, Poppy has like her own cabaret, so there's going to be 2 people from her cabaret, Disgraceful Cabaret.
Cool.
And it's going to be 24 Karat Gold and Alice apparently. And I'm very excited to perform with all of these amazing performers. I haven't met all of them in person yet, actually, which is kind of interesting too. And I guess people can expect drag, singing, like theatrical kind of performance, lip syncing, burlesque, really a bit of everything.
And it's sold out, I believe. It's really cool.
I'm surprised it sold out so quick, but I'm just like, wow, like the response has been so good, and I'm really thankful for it.
Will any of it be either captured, or will there be a follow-up of some kind, you think, beyond the 17th, that is?
A follow-up.
In terms of the performance, like, what do you think it's something you might like to explore more now that we can open up and perform live? Or?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like to continue this show. I would love to have this show in other places, definitely. And somebody's already reached out about maybe having it in Waterford. So
cool.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes first, and then we'll see how it goes. But I think I'm already thinking it sounds great. I want to take it anywhere else where it's needed, really.
I remember coming across some of your work in Garter Lane a little while ago. It was kind of broadcast into the windows.
Yes.
That was an interesting way to show. Was that during lockdown? Or
it was. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. I've got some different things I want to go through with you. Okay, so performing here, I was very lucky. I was right up there. I don't know if we can see that right now.
I saw you up there.
I was like hiding right in the back of the
It's kind of
balcony.
nice to be up there.
It was cool. Like I felt like I had the space to myself. The audience down here, and the piece you performed, you mentioned to me, I think afterwards, that it had changed. I think so. You had an initial way of performing it, and there was like a transition in itself of performing. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So I actually wrote that performance in 2019, right before I was going to have my graduate exhibition.
Right.
And I was in this state of like constantly making so much work, and I didn't have time to really like do that performance. So the only time I got to do that performance was in Revision in Belfast, and that was the first time I've ever performed, which was a year ago, actually. And now I feel like performance is a really big part of my practice, so that's really cool. But like, initially it was made during a time of like kind of like anguish, and like I was very angry, and I was really writing in my as my alter ego, Kitsch Doom, and that's my artist alter ego. And he was just really mad, and like kind of like realizing a lot of stuff about society, and realizing about a lot of stuff about gender and identity and for themselves, and I suppose you're just like, wow, like you can see it I saw it in a kind of negative light. And so that was actually initially a very angry kind of negative, mad at the world kind of feeling with that, which is not a bad thing. But then I realized, as I started to find myself more and find myself and realize my own gender identity and my own sexuality, I started to be like, okay, this is actually a good thing. Like, things are really like, I guess, set in a certain way, and maybe it's not that comfortable. It doesn't mean you have to stay that way. You can make that comfortable. It's a beautiful thing to rise up from that and to become who you are, like to find yourself is a beautiful thing. So I wanted that kind of like happy, positive note to it this time. So I gave it a new life.
Yeah, the pacing of it seemed, I don't know it verbatim, the piece you performed, but I noticed there was a sense of like, it reminded me of some of your, what I call slightly more post-internet pieces, where there's a digital element, it's quick, it's pacey, but there was a very, quote, human or like emotional moment in the piece where you kind of went, it's okay, and there was a breath and all that. And that felt like a real, like, I don't know if that was the main change, but it came across that way, so
Yeah, that was the main change. So I'm so glad
That's
they
okay.
came across.
That's fine.
Because sometimes I have to, like, if I'm in character as Kitsch, I have to kind of hold back the anger because he's really, like,
Yeah.
powerful kind of person.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, just lets it all out and can come across as a bit passive aggressive.
Yeah.
So, like, I wanted that same power, but I wanted it to be, like, you know, that breath of fresh air, being like, it's okay, you know, and kind of giving him a bit of a breath.
Channeling it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad they came across.
Yeah, because I think one of the early incarnations I've witnessed is using a gun and killing their old self, and you know, that was like, okay, so we're starting there, like, you know, it's a little bit that's fine, but it's right up there, and it's going to
Yeah, cool. I started out with some, like, really intense videos because that's how it felt as well. You know, at the time, just learning all this, you're like, whoa, who am I? Is this who I am? Really? Like, I don't know anymore. So it's like you almost have to get rid of that person, or for a small time kill them off for a little bit and become someone else. Look at your position and your experience from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And, you know, Susie didn't die. It's okay. Susie's not dead. It's okay. She's still here.
I think there's it's quite accurate in a way to, you know, how when you grow up, when one grows up, goes through life, you are kind of encouraged, hey, stop that, you know, do be that way, do this. And I think you do actually quote that in your pieces. You're saying, you're not real. And it's saying, yeah, well, no one is. No one's real. Like, what is real? It's all a construct.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, I think being comfortable with that or acknowledging that's quite important. Are there any, putting you on the spot here, any artists who, during this journey of coming from print into performance into films, who've really helped shape you or inspired you?
Yeah, definitely. Like Claude Cahoon, Cindy Sherman, Carrie Upson, Alex DeCourt, a lot of artists. So many artists, actually. I can't even think of all of them. But and then also the Pandragine as well, their work, and really so a performance artist as well, William L. Pope as well, who performs outside, like in public spaces. Yeah, there's a lot.
That's okay.
Oh, and Matthew Barney as well. Somebody is in my head, and I have them at the tip of my tongue. I can't remember them now. There's
a lot of thank you, and there's a lot of within your video pieces, like music is a big part. I've noticed Chet Baker, Morrissey, Blondie, not Madonna. I think Madonna might be up in used at some point. There's a lot of lip syncing going on, which I'm here for that. Like that's great. Something I like about the lip syncing, or something I was going to ask you, this is just my kind of personal projection, but like sometimes when you're younger, or maybe not younger, you're a car as an older person, and you put on a song and you're like, you are that pop star, you are that thing, right? But it's a very private kind of moment, you know. Like I remember pretending to be various, like Elvis or Eddie Vedder as I progressed into but the way you've captured and showing it, it's like, I don't know, like how does that make you feel? Because, like, you know, a lot of people would say, oh, that's what I do, that I can relate to that.
Yeah,
or, you know.
well, I guess it is about kind of making the personal public, and that's kind of a political act, actually. And yeah, it is about making it more accessible to people. Like, I don't make my artwork just for, you know, an art audience, or people who have an education in art, but actually for anybody. Like, I want anybody to be able to connect with it and enjoy it and get it very simply.
Yeah.
And like lip syncing goes back to, I guess, I'm realizing that drag is a huge part of my work and a huge inspiration for my work, and always has been, and that's why all the characters are very exaggerated. And lip syncing is a huge part of drag, and really everybody does it. And it also goes back to how we mimic and try to attain this like celebrity image, and almost like say, oh, I like how this celebrity is, and take a little bit of that. And that's why the whole show is called Living Collage, because we're just taking parts of others that we like and making our own person, and we have control over who that is. So yeah, lip syncing is an important part of that, because it's like we're miming others and becoming that fantasy in that moment for that moment. Yeah,
there's almost a sort of theatrical element to it, like you're going through emotion. Sometimes people speak for you, or you kind of, you know, Yeah. I think we may wrap in a moment, but before we do, I would like to thank the Presentation Arts Centre on behalf of letting me do this. It's been great. The Arts Council and Wexford Arts Centre. For yourself, anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about my work. And the setup is so beautiful. It's exactly what I wanted. So extra.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect today when we were coming in. I was like, are we going to do record on the floor? Are we going to sit in the stuff? But then thanks to the helpful direction of Brian, we have had this whole thing put together. So thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you to everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody that I collaborated with over the last year. I want to thank, the designers, Izzy O'Reilly, Roshan Garland, and I would like to thank everybody who's ever supported me really to get to this moment, who's believed in the work, really, my family, and the presentation for having me here and having my work here and believing in it as well. So yeah, there's a lot of people to thank. And that's all I want to say, really. And I hope people can make it to the show and enjoy it and give me feedback if they like. And I hope they enjoy it. Yeah,
that's right. And obviously upcoming Saturday is sold out, but for your screening in Cork, tickets are available at the moment?
Yeah, they are, which is great. And it's going to be alongside other really good movies as well, that are recent graduates and artist films. Yeah. So I'm going to be there, actually. Yeah.
And it's your first time having this one shown on a larger screen, right?
Yeah, it's my first time actually being able to see it on a large screen. Yeah, for sure. Because all the other festivals that I've been getting into are in America, so I haven't been able to go over there. Right. Yeah, so I'm really excited because it was made for the cinematic experience. Yeah.
And it's going down well because I know, in terms of those festivals in America, in New York and Los Angeles, you've count I could name them here. The New York Film Awards 2020, Film Con Awards 2020. Los Angeles Film Awards 2020, prestigious Los Angeles 2020. Yeah. That's not exhaustive. It's gone down. It's been really well received.
Yeah,
it's been. I don't mean to sound shocked. I'm congratulating.
Thank you. No, I was shocked actually because it was kind of my first proper film. But it's really I actually got a lot of support with that with the technician that is also my friend in NCAD. Right. And her name's Julia, and she shot that so perfectly. I think our energies just really worked together during that time, and I think she also believed in the work and believed also in Meryl as a character. So she the way she shot it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. I have to be very honest about that. There's no way I can take full credit for that. The cinematography was perfect. Yeah.
Great. Okay, I think we'll probably call it there. Thank you so much for this.
Also, the music in the film. My husband, Reynaldo Bonet, he did the music and he's unreal. And that also made the film what it is. It really marries the film perfectly.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for this today and upcoming. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.